Tonight, after 4 rounds of fighting, it's time for the BashBots Season 4 World Championship Tournament.
Martha's done it!
Pieces all over the arena.
What a massive hit!
They have survived carnage, conflict, and combat, and after a punishing season of destruction, only the 16 most elite robots remain.
Are you ready? It's robot fighting time! Let's bring out the box!
In every corner lurks danger, and every fight could be your last. The only way to survive? Destroy everything in your path.
But that is a shattering hit!
No second chances, no room for error. One wrong move could be the difference between life and death. Who will claim the ultimate prize in the virtual world? Only 4 more battles separate these robots from eternal glory. The battle for immortality begins now on BashBots, the World Championship.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BashBots Season 4 World Championship Tournament. I'm your host, the Dominus Cygnus, and alongside me is our match analyst, the Dan Beaver. After a season of carnage and destruction, only a few more fights separate these robots from glory. They are the best of the best, all competing to raise this, the giant wrench, etching their names into the history books.
Dom, I am so excited. We have had 8 episodes of blood, sweat and tears, and here we are at the bracket. This season has been like no other. Our robots have fought through 4 brutal fights to make it to the stage, and with it we've seen some legends fall and we have seen more legends rise. The remaining robots have been ranked 1 through 16, so let's just stop all of the speculation and reveal the seedings for this season's tournament.
As you know from last episode, the seedings are done in groupings based on each robot's record from the regular season, so let's reveal what they are. Claiming the number 1 seed, of course, is the reigning champion Mars. Some of the fans last season weren't convinced about them, but now under the control of RoboBowler, they have gone 4-0 in the qualifiers. Facing off against them, Claymore just manages to sneak into the bracket with the number 16 seed. They'll be facing a rematch of what was an excellent main event earlier in the season. Jonathan Schultz and his Robot Huge take the number 8 seed. After struggling to find their feet early on, the robot proved to be a beast. They will be facing off against the number 8 seeded Tranquilizer.
Moving on over to the other side of the bracket, it's Polis that claims the number 2 seed. They also ended their season with a perfect 4-0 after finally taking down Sparks, which may I remind you is the only robot to have ever beaten the Season 2 champ. Just like number 1 seed though, they too will be facing a rematch, but not from this season. Taking the number 15 seed is Tenderlove. After having a mixed season, Neroni has just managed to get into the bracket with a 2-2 record. Below those two though, claiming the number 7 seed is none other than Gumdrops. The rookie robot led by Evil Toaster has had a very impressive first season going 3-1. They will be taking on Panther, who takes the number 10 seed.
Moving down to the bottom side of the bracket, there's only one more 4-0 robot. So as expected, Wishbone takes the number 3 seed. After struggling with Micronic for 3 seasons now, Wither went with the Egg Beater for this season and has had an absolutely brilliant run, going 4-0 and taking down Amethyst. There's also only one more 2-2 robot, which is Cosmo. They've had a tough season and had a massive rebuild to do after their bout with Huge, but a victory over Wishbone would set them back on the right path. Coming in at the number 6 spot is the 2019 champion Sparks. After suffering weapon motor issues towards the end of the qualifiers, Jag and Tag has put a fresh one in and with it a new heavier blade. They'll be taking on the number 11 seed Catch, who has had an extremely impressive comeback season, going 3-1 in the qualifiers.
Back over to the left-hand side and the final quadrant of the bracket, claiming the number 14 seed is the always terrifying crown jewel of BashBots, Amethyst. Spoodle had a perfect season until being taken down by Whispered in their fourth fight, but he has assured us that that's all behind him now, and that Amethyst is primed for even more beautiful destruction. Taking them on is the number 13 seed is Calcifer. The grappler robot led by Marrow has flown under the radar all season long, going 3-1, but this could be their time to shine against one of the favourites to take it all. Taking the number 5 seed is the Lifterbot Atlas. After being upgraded, it has proved to be a truly deadly machine, going 3-1 on the regular season. And they will be taking on our last robot to be seeded, the 12th seed Ryu Kitchen. So, without further ado, let's kick off the tournament the right way, with the 8th and 9th seeds battling it out for a spot in the quarterfinals.
And here we are, Tranquilizer versus Huge. The 8th and 9th seed both finishing their regular season with a 3-1 record. For me, Huge is such a non-conventional design. It's going to be very hard for Tranquilizer to approach it. And plus, looking back, they decimated Cosmo in their last fight. They have plenty of reason to be confident heading into this one. And I have plenty of reason to be confident in backing them.
Yeah, I can see why you would be confident. Huge has a lot of good stuff to say about it. But it also has a very interesting weakness. I'd say that people have been watching Huge fight for far longer than they've seen most other contestants on BashBots. And I think with that, they know how to beat Huge. They know how to make this incredible machine bleed. I think the builder really knows just how to deal with Huge. They saw what happened to Cosmo, they'll be sticking with the full wedge, and they think that with a lot of aggression, they can keep on the wheels of Huge and they won't take hits to the top of the robot.
Let's not waste any more time. Everything is on the line in this fight for these two robots. Let's head on down to the arena.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's robot fighting time! Let's bring out the bots! In the red square, from the US, I wonder if this builder can build anything different. It's huge! In the blue square, from Lithuania, it's not at all approved by the FDA, it's Tranquilizer!
The strategy for this one is to go with the heavier, harder hitting bar this time. The lighter hitting bar didn't win against Rampage, and the heavier hitting bar won against Cosmo, so we're going to see if we can repeat the strategy.
Yeah, what he said.
The most open match in the field, the 8th seed against the 9th seed, plucky newcomers in Huge, and fallen veterans perhaps in Tranquilizer, looking for redemption here.
Well, here we go. It's the start of the big stage in BashBots again. The knockouts. Lose here and you're gone for good. So far, Huge will be the one with the most confidence going into the fight. It has the statement win, but Tranquilizer trying to make sure that the ghosts of this season so far are going to be well and truly dismantled here.
Certainly, they want to keep that front wedge on, having seen what happened to the bare bones front of Cosmo, who, would you believe, is still alive and participating in the top 16 later on. But for now, Huge will be wanting to make the same thing happen twice, and they're doing a very good job of it.
Huge definitely is getting stronger for exchanges like those as the season has gone on. Just remains grounded and then gets a hit off. It has lost its tread there, though.
Never seems to make too much of a difference in the end, though.
But yeah, it's not normally something that affects the machine too much, though it is struggling to move out of its own circumference a little bit there, trying to get away, reposition itself. Tranquilizer on the chase again as Huge bounces, and then a big collision sends both of them apart.
Yes, the gyroscopic forces of Huge's spinner is really carrying it up into the air here. They are using their heaviest blade, the same that they used against Cosmo, having stated that the lighter blade didn't really work out against Rampage, but maybe struggling a little bit with the physics of it now, and Tranquilizer wants to introduce some brand new physics. We call it the ceiling.
Well, Tranquilizer, after losing its own curved stabilizers on top from Huge hits, tried to send Huge upwards and into the ceiling. The pit has been nudged. Tranquilizer trying to line up another attack as Huge just lays and lumps on its side. And there goes one of the stabilizers from Huge now.
Yes, I certainly don't think it was Huge's intention to open the pit. It wasn't their intention to lose a whole wheel. They're going to try and bounce around the arena to run out the clock, but all of a sudden things are looking one-way cycling for Tranquilizer. Huge. Well, they've been doing pretty much this entire match on one wheel anyway, with the gyroscopic forces messing them about, but now they certainly don't want to be without the wheel entirely.
This is the Tranquilizer we are used to. It's finally warmed up this season. It's taken a while to get going, but look at the damage it can mete out when it gets the truly biggest hits only it can carry out. Incredible moment that was. And with 20 seconds to play and a count-out that has finally begun on this spiralling and flailing Huge. It's now been paused, by the way, because of a hit from Tranquilizer.
So that's a solid strategy. If he's in the air, I can't hit him.
I'm exerting control because I'm disabling your weapon by not touching the ground.
I'll give Huge some credit for quote-unquote making it to the end, but did they? Truly?
The heavy spinner was the wrong choice, I think, because I couldn't turn.
Here we are, some actual weapon-on-weapon collisions. They were initially going a lot better for Huge. The spinning bar, it wasn't able to reach underneath Tranquilizer, but just slotting into the weapon gaps and finding other ways to dig in. It was throwing Tranquilizer head over heels, but then Tranquilizer threw Huge just that little bit higher, and those plastic wheels could only stand up to too much. Huge looking a little deflated.
The judges' results are in. We have a unanimous decision. And the winner is Tranquilizer!
The match goes to a judge's decision, and cutting Huge down to size, Tranquilizer goes marching on to the top 8. Absolutely brilliant to see Huge here though. Hope they return next year.
And so we move on to the second fight of the night. It's the number 1 seed, the defending champion Mars, taking on the number 16 seed Claymore. This fight is going to be something else. Beaver, I've got to ask you, who do you think is going to come out on top in this one?
Well, it's a good thing you asked, because I'm backing the reigning champion. These two robots fought earlier in the qualifiers, and Mars came out on top. It was a very close match, but I think Robobolter knows what needs to be done, and I think he can recreate it in this fight. And let's not forget, Mars is on a 10-fight win streak now. I don't want to jinx things, but I think this thing could be invincible by now.
I think for a few reasons, it being a dark horse and me knowing its history means that I've got to back Claymore in this one. Now, yes, it has suffered 2 losses in a row, but we got to remember that its 2 victories have been by impressive out of the arenas. While it may not be such an obvious choice compared to Mars, I think Claymore has a lot of potential to be very capable in BashBots. Is it enough to beat Mars is probably a harder thing to argue. It's not going to be easy, but I've got to back Claymore on this one.
The second fight this season between Mars and Claymore, that's just the way with the draw. Mars, our undefeated champion, has to be top seed. Claymore here on a 2-2 record, but deserved nonetheless.
And here we go. As just pointed out, this is a rematch from this season. Will lessons have been learned? Will strategies be changed? Or will it be same old as Mars looks to extend that long streak?
And it certainly is doing with that first flip. Claymore actually getting underneath the front forks of Mars there. It didn't work out too well. And when we see Mars throw the relatively lightweight, small Claymore around, it can just get all kinds of distance. It's had enough distance to bounce back into our arena there.
Well, Claymore would have hoped for more of a controlled start to this rematch, but it was very nearly over and out already. Now trying to compose itself and start a bit of a comeback after this opening period pressure from Mars.
Yes, we know the strengths of Mars. It's not the most powerful flipper in the competition, but it's got some of the best defense and it does have some of the best control. Compared to something like Polis, which will be throwing robots twice the height into the air, but no one quite does it like Mars. The control on display against a similarly well-driven machine in Claymore is just truly worthy of respect.
Claymore really hasn't got a sniff in just yet. It's a very well-controlled machine itself, but at the moment Mars is just carrying out a mixture of big flips, small flips, flips that set up the next flip. 1 minute 30 gone, and Mars has played this all to plan so far.
We do know that Claymore is quite known for its last second out of the arena attacks. That is what they're going to have to rely on, because with 1 minute and 15 left, I don't think this just judge's decision could go their way if it does reach that point. Maybe consider pressing the pit release button or just box your opponent into that corner, but it's going to be you who ends up in that corner as you fly over the floor flipper and lose a little bit of a decorative spoiler on the back there.
Yes, Claymore still chugging along, but so far only really has one flip to its name. Now it has a second. Can it follow through with another? Mars self-rights quickly, and then Claymore tried for another flip, but it was always going to be opportunistic, and that one is very well controlled, and it could be danger here for Mars.
Also not quite over with the self-righting. They're using those lower pressure self-righting flips to get Mars more delicately back onto its wheels instead of somersaulting into the air, but occasionally it's not quite strong enough to get the machine all the way over if the timing isn't right. Claymore keeping Mars on its back, but unfortunately that is not one of the corners of the arena where it could secure a knockout, so Mars is not too unhappy to be there.
Well, it is a determined late rally from Claymore. Is it gonna be not enough again, though? It's tried, and there's another flip there. Maybe this late rally will be enough. Who knows? The timer's up, and it is closer than it once looked like it was going to be.
Great little effort from Claymore in the late stages. Let's take another look at that. Of course, no denying that those first 2 minutes of the action were all about Mars. Claymore sneaking in at best 1 to 2 flips, a very near out of the arena attack from Mars there. Claymore just long and light enough to bounce back in. There's absolutely no doubt which way the first half of the match went, but Claymore, you've got to give it some extra points on control for making use of a more unconventional front hinge flipper. It's definitely a lot easier for Mars to get flips than it is for Claymore to do so, but it still had a great surge at the end.
The results from the judges are in. We have a unanimous decision. And the winner is Mars!
And winning the fight by a judge's decision, the reigning champion Mars is victorious and heading to the quarterfinals. That means Claymore's run ends here. Hopefully we'll be seeing them return next season bigger and better than ever. We gotta head into our next battle.
Dom, you backed the Dark Horse last fight, and I think I'm going to be doing the same here. Calcifer's been going under the radar pretty much all season, but I think that's about to change tonight. Being a grappler, it is the kind of robot that can really stay on Amethyst and keep it from spinning up as long as it gets that first excellent box rush, which I think it can. And even if Marrow isn't that confident he can put up a win, I think really that's when you really just surprise yourself.
Amethyst is a robot that I've always held in high regard. It is a fearsome robot. While it has come off a loss against Wishbone, the robot has, as ever, proved to be extremely deadly throughout its fight, especially against non-spinners, which, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't see a spinner on Calcifer. I got a lot of respect for Calcifer for making it this far. It has the same win-loss record as Amethyst this season, which is no small feat. But Amethyst is on an entirely different level at this point. I just don't think Calcifer's going to be able to pull this one off.
Amethyst, our most highly seeded machine with a loss to its name, and even that loss itself was quite debatable. Calcifer is rightfully scared of this one.
Well, this does look like one of the bigger mismatches on paper in this round of 16. It's Amethyst and Calcifer, and it's not an encouraging start for the lower seed as it gets stuck on its side temporarily, and that allows Amethyst for some early slaps of that thick bar.
That's right, at the 13th seed, Calcifer may still be our biggest underdog left in the competition. Everyone seeded below it went 2-2 on the season, but is still a well-respected name in their own right. But here, Calcifer coming in as essentially a newcomer, and Amethyst is showing them exactly what's what.
Well, it's a lovely visual machine, Calcifer, but in terms of visual damage, it's all going to be about Amethyst in that department. Is there anything Calcifer can do to combat this type of opposition? It's trying to get in close, but that's exactly where Amethyst will want it half the time. And there is another clipped attack, and then Calcifer gets clipped over by the arena hazards. Oh!
And there goes a wheel as well. The whole strategy of Calcifer is using that low front wedge to resist any hits and get underneath the opponent. But if the spinner of Amethyst has a lower wedge in the first place, then what does Calcifer have to offer? It's going to have to work on that solution as we move closer to the second half of the fight. But Calcifer, you've really got to think hard to award it points for anything at the moment.
Half of the fight is gone. Half of the wheels are gone. It's Amethyst with another one of its slow but surely destruction fights. It doesn't look all that visually damaging at the moment, but it's so many hits, so many impacts that just keep going and going. Calcifer is on its last legs, its last wheel out here. That's another big slap across the arena floor. And honestly here, Calcifer has tried to keep going, but Amethyst just hasn't even needed to get out of second gear yet.
I'm not sure I would have bothered self-righting when Calcifer did. Is that the end of the wheels now? I think it is. Calcifer is not going anywhere anymore, and Amethyst, they've taken a quick win without even needing to break too much of a sweat. They'll be a persistent force on this side of the bracket, that is for sure. Take one last look at Calcifer's contributions to the top 16. They did very well to get here with their 3 wins throughout the main season, but Amethyst is just on something else. We know the potential of this machine. The fact that it's even the 4th seed is dangerously low for it, coming off of that controversial loss to Wishbone. Calcifer ultimately provided no opposition for it whatsoever. It's going to take something crazy to stop this machine.
And, well, I gotta say, Diva, the spinning wheels of Calcifer were no match for the mighty spinner of Amethyst. Before the final fight of the night, we're going to take you through the first half of the history of Gary's Wars. It all started in 2014 when Moldy and KOS got together to make some robots in Gary's mod. You'd know them as the guys behind ETA and R4 respectively over the last 2 seasons. Of course, the robots back then were nothing like the ones we know nowadays. They were built using primitive tools and techniques and were powered by thrusters, which were essentially like mini rockets. Rather than the wheels spinning to move the robots, the entire robot would be pushed. They posted about their robots on GTM in November of 2014, and Gary's Wars was born.
Traction built up as more and more users tried their hands at building robots. including our current champion and the current server owner, RoboBuilder. He brought new ideas and rules to the group and revolutionized it with the first properly functioning flipper. It's laid the groundwork for flippers as we know them today and started the legacy for one of the most legendary robots in the group, ETA.
2015 was a big year for the group. One of the first ever tournaments, now dubbed as Series 0, took place in March, followed by the first ever official tournament when Series 1 took place in April. It saw the creation of the first ever custom arenas, including the Robot Wars and BattleBots arenas.
As the group entered what is known as the Golden Era, two of the biggest tournaments to this day took place as Garry's World Series 2 and Gmod BattleBots happened in July and December respectively. In November of 2015, a year on from the group's inception, the official Garry's Wars Discord was created.
2016 was a big year of growth for the server, but not much of a year of development. On the flip side, 2017 saw what remains as the biggest and most important rule change in Garry's Wars history. After an updated damage system was implemented, robots made the switch from thrusters to E2. E2 is essentially a programming chip which allows the robots to move via the wheels spinning, instead of a rocket pushing them around the arena. The robots now drove realistically and looked more realistic when fighting. The 6th edition of Gmod Robotica took place shortly after and became the first ever tournament to be held under the new drive rules, and the server entered what is now known as the modern era.
That brings us up to about halfway through the history. We'll finish it off next episode, but now it's time for the final fight of the night. And here we are at the final fight of the episode, and we've got a hell of a fight to finish off. We have Atlas and Ryu Kitchen. Atlas is our 5th seed. It is considered one of the best robots to go 3-1 all season, and it won 3 of those fights in a very convincing fashion, which is incredible considering it doesn't have a very kinetic weapon at all. I think Atlas might be a contender for the championship, and Freeman is definitely part of that because he's been such a good driver all season. I think Atlas takes this one.
Ryu Kitchen also has a 3-1 record, and plus they came off a victory against Siren, which, if you kind of squint, cross your eyes, turn the other way, it kind of looks similar to Atlas. But for real though, I think that Ryu Kitchen has a solid chance here against Atlas. It's going to be very difficult. Atlas is stupendous, but Ryu Kitchen is also incredibly good for having gotten this far. I think it's underrated, and I think it's got a solid chance in this fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's robot fighting time! Let's bring out the bots! In the red square, from Germany! Nobody knows how to correctly pronounce its name! It's Ryu Kitchen! In the blue square, from Wales! It might be mistaking Ryu Kitchen for a sheep, it's Atlas!
Alright, well, as this is going to be my last fight in this tournament, I just wanted to say thank you to my sponsor, Spoodle Wedges. They helped out a lot. And yeah, I also hate Atlas because the color scheme just sucks. It's just a black and white robot with some yellow, orange highlights, and I don't like that at all. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
So we've already gone against a really similar robot in Catch, and that went pretty good, so basically just do that.
The battle of the black and white lifting stroke flipping weapons with yellow highlights. Atlas got to be favoured here, but Ryu Kitchen did get a win on a similar machine in Siren. You never know.
Well, this is a very interesting one. And although in general you'd consider Atlas the more well-rounded machine, when it comes to control versus control, can Ryu Kitchen show it's a match for Atlas here? It's a good start from it.
Yeah, that's a great little balancing act on the front hinged flipping weapon. Atlas, as we would expect, generally lower to the ground. They create sparks as they drive simply for existing Atlas. But Ryu Kitchen, they are the one with the main weapon use until they've been thrown over.
Well, this is a really encouraging start. This has all the potential to be a really, really close fight. We've had a lot of close fights in general this season, and both machines here have carried out really good attacks already, as Atlas goes in with a reversal slam into the grinder.
This is exactly what Atlas likes to do. They don't just leave it at one attack, even making use of the arena hazards to keep this combo going. When Atlas starts attacking you, it doesn't tend to stop for quite some time. That's not to say they just keep you in their grab and lift system for 30 seconds, which they have the right to do. No, they'll just keep finding new ways to mess you up, and they're continuing to do so right now.
Incredible driving and combinations there from Atlas to keep the attack flowing. It was across about 45 seconds there. Ryu Kitchen just couldn't truly wriggle free as it gets toppled by the arena floor flipper temporarily. Atlas again trying to tangle in the back corners of Ryu Kitchen that time. And at the moment, our 12th seed can't really get any space to breathe.
Yep, and up in the air they go.
Oh.
Now we'll see how long Atlas wants to keep that lift going. Apparently not for very long, because they want to reverse it into the grinders. And themselves, let's not expose the back in any bad ways again, Atlas. Again, one of the only ways we've seen it defeated, but they will be looking out for Polis as well if they want to advance further into this bracket. Atlas slightly scorned, but nevertheless putting up a performance very, very worthy of the 5th seed. This has been dominant for quite some time now.
Ryu Kitchen has tried to get that thruster into action more than one time since its first attack, but it's not quite been able to carry out attacks that can give it enough points to override some of this incredible Atlas pressure that has been on the cards for a long, long time. And there's another attack. It's flicked up itself though, so not perfect, but still punishing and pressuring.
Now, Atlas with some very careful driving to make sure they're not broadsided by Ryu Kitchen near that arena wall. A late knockout is perhaps the only thing that could cost them of a victory here. With the pit still in view, Atlas quite happy to ramp on top of it, but I wouldn't do that when there's such a looming instant knockout hazard nearby. That's more like it. Get the action away from that pit.
Beautiful late composure there from Atlas. And it's been a really good fight, but will it be just a little too short here for Ryu Kitchen? We will find out very soon.
Here was that good start from Ryu Kitchen. They toppled over on the mere momentum of a clash, but that was a great little attack to put them in a brief lead. Unfortunately, it didn't add up to too much more than that. Ryu Kitchen, they'll be very happy, of course, to make it here in the first place. They haven't been quite this successful in BashBots past. Atlas, they're our defending 3rd place. Doesn't seem like they'll be stopped here, but you never can tell.
The results from the judges are in. We have a unanimous decision. And the winner is Atlas.
Shocking absolutely no one, this fight's gone to a judge's decision, and Atlas is the winner. Ryu Kitchen will be going back home, but I am already excited to see it again next year.
What a start to the round of 16 we have had. We saw 4 robots punch their tickets to the next round. The top dogs Mars, Amethyst and Atlas, as well as Tranquilizer, coming off a huge win against Huge. Next time, we're going to dive into the other side of the bracket and we will set our quarterfinals for the championship episode. That's going to do it for us tonight here at BashBots. We thank you so much for watching and we hope that you enjoyed the show. Until next time, good night.